Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for April 25th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric and I'm the man behind Etoft21sports. We have a phenomenal show lined up for you today. My boy Sterling from Silverstar Sports, hey, is going to come on. We are going to talk some NFL. We're going to be doing a mock NFL draft. Sterling and I have been doing this for the last couple of years. Really enjoy it. Smart dude. Love hearing his insights. Sometimes we agree. Sometimes we don't agree. Those are always fun times. And as always, Gino is going to have his horse racing bet of the day. I'd like to thank everyone for watching on Twitch. If you're watching on Twitch, please hit that follow button. It helps me out. For those watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Helps me out as well. And also, I'd like to thank the sponsor of the show, the Sharpz betting app. If you're not using Sharpz, you're really missing out. It is the premier bet tracking app in my eyes. It allows you to interact with other gamblers. You can see what they bet. You can track your own bets. It connects right to your sports book. So you don't have those guys who are pretending to bet stuff that they really don't bet and touting it. Plus, you can interact. You can talk to other people about their bets, why they like bets. You can make little videos about what you're betting and everything. Great betting app. If you're not using it, you're really missing out. You should go to the App Store, download the Sharpz app, use promo code ETOF499. If you are watching on YouTube, there is a link to it in the description. Like I said, we have a great show for you today. Gino has a horse he absolutely loves at Keeneland. Let's see what Gino's betting tomorrow at Keeneland. And we have no sound from Gino's video, which seems to be very weird. Well, there's always a first at the Etoft21sports Show. We have our first ever technical difficulty. Always a good time. I swear to God that video was working earlier when I tried it out, and now it is not working. So let's shift our attention over. Let's bring Sterling onto the show. Sterling, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing awesome, man. It's the NBA playoffs, NFL drafts here. Just had a vacation in Cali. I'm doing great. Doing great. Thanks for
Dude,
having
you're
me.
part of history, dude. You know, you're one of the first people ever to come on my podcast, and now you're the first one on the podcast where I had my first ever technical difficulty, dude.
You know, 42 shows in, first technical difficulty. I'll give you some leeway there. You're okay.
So California, dude, how was Cali, my man?
It was great. San Diego, LA, great time, beaches galore, good food. So, first time out there in a minute. So, it's a good time.
Now, did you get a chance to go to the Padres Stadium?
I did. And I went to the bathroom and missed the only score of the game, a solo home run by Juan Soto. So that was a little disappointing, but Petco Park's a pretty cool park. So
now we're not here to talk about your vacation in Cali. We're here to talk some sports. We're here to talk some NBA, some NFL, some bets. We each have 3 bets. You don't know what I'm betting. I don't know what you're betting. We could be completely different. You know, should be a great show. But before we go in, we always have a weekend takeaway. I have my weekend takeaway, and you kind of heard me start going on my rant about my weekend takeaway. So, Sterling, let's hear what your takeaway is, my friend.
So my takeaway of the weekend is the NBA playoffs are getting absolutely killed by injuries. You look at Giannis, you look at Embiid going down, you look at all these Tyler Herro. So many different players are getting injured, and all these series looking like they're going to be instant hardwood classics, and they're just getting tainted. And you already see the rumblings on Twitter. Put the asterisk next to whoever wins this championship. And I just hate to see that as an NBA fan. You never like to see injuries. I know they play a part in every playoffs, but I was really excited this year to get the matchups fully healthy, and it's just being tainted just a little bit already, and you hate to see that.
Now, do you think they should get rid of the charge?
No. Just because some people go up reckless, I don't say get rid of it.
Now, I don't know. That's the thing, because like we've seen some guys get hurt, and we saw when Kawhi went down that all that kind of started to change a little bit when Kawhi went down in that game against the Warriors. When he went up for the jump shot and his foot landed, we saw all these rule changes. That's the only reason why I think we could see a rule change like that, is because of all the stars going down, like you said. My first takeaway, and I'll give a coach a credit. This last game, we saw a coach finally change his old man stubborn ways. But these NBA coaches are stubborn, and it's costing them playoff games and playoff series. Anyone that's watched me knows my best bet of these NBA playoffs has been Clint Capella under 20, 21 and a half points and rebounds. Why? Because he's just athletically can't be out there. He can't compete with the wings that Boston has. It's just not a good matchup. And if you look at NBA Popcorn Machine, which is a great site for those who don't use it, and it kind of just shows everyone, it shows your plus minus, the flow of the score when you're on the court. It happens like butter. Capella's in the game. Celtics go on a run. They take him out. And then the Hawks go on the run. And it kind of looked to me in this game like Quinn Snyder finally figured it out, because I'm going to pull up the box score right now. Capella, I think he only had 20 some odd minutes, if I remember, played 20 minutes. That's how much he should be playing. 20 minutes. This is an Okongwu series. And then let's look at Bickerstaff. I don't know what the hell Bickerstaff's doing. He's playing old man Green, Usman, who my old ass is more athletic than, and LeVert, who can hit a J, but let's face it, he cannot rebound and defend. Why isn't Isaac Okawa, why isn't he out there playing? It makes zero logical sense to me. And then last night, you look at the Bucks. Bud's whole defensive philosophy: go under the screen and drop. You have Butler. Butler was making everything. Why don't you blitz him? Break your old man habits. This is my way, and this is how we're going to do it. No, you're giving your team zero chance to win.
You'd think after he was giving you 40, you'd change up the scheme a little bit. But
it's like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, what are you doing? Like, literally, what the hell are you doing? Makes zero sense. And it's just, look, it's just bad. It is just bad. And these coaches, they're costing it. Like, honestly, if the Bucks don't win the series, Bud's out of a job. He's gone. So it's really going to be interesting. And I just think this coaching has been subpar. But we're not here to listen to me rant about the stupidity of NBA coaches. You know what? We are going to do something. We are going to do a first round mock draft with trades and everything. I'm going to be pulling up the PFF mock draft simulator. We have everything locked and ready to go. Sterling and I have not rehearsed this at all, so it should be fun. We could get in some arguments who we're going to draft. We're going to start the draft right here. And on the clock are the Carolina Panthers. Sterling, talk to me, big dog. Where do you think the Panthers are going to go?
Gotcha. So the way I kind of looked at this when you said you'd bring me on the show is I looked at it as what I would do. I'm going to look at it as what I think the Panthers would do, and then we can also get weird with a couple other ideas. But what I would do if I were the Panthers, and also ultimately what I think they're going to do, is take Bryce Young number one. I think that's the right move. You look at Bryce Young, some people are concerned about his size. It didn't stop him at Mater Day. It didn't stop him at Alabama from being the best player in college football. Let's not overthink it. If the number one thing people can say about Bryce Young is something he can't even control, his height, it means he's a pretty damn good football player. That QB archetype of the tall pocket passer, I think it's outdated. So why are we trying to discredit Bryce Young with this old football narrative? And if you look at other shorter passers in the league, like Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson, the knock on those guys is they can't really throw over the middle of the field. Bryce Young's actually money in that scenario. So I'm willing to bet Bryce Young's going to be a very, very good player, and he's worthy of the number one pick, in my opinion.
So we're going to go Bryce Young, number one. Boom. I totally agree with that. I think it is going to be Bryce Young. My one thing with Bryce Young is this, though. He's not that fast. Are you worried about his lack of speed?
Honestly, for me, I'm not, because I really feel like he has a great sense of evading pressure, that he doesn't really need that elusive speed. He senses the rush coming. He knows how to shift in the pocket and use his angles, use his small size to his advantage. So I'm not really worried about that.
Now, are you worried about how Tua struggled at the next level, that this could be an Alabama thing?
No, and for a reason we'll get into with a different quarterback.
Now, this is when the draft picks up for me, the number 2 pick. But before we jump into this, I messed up. I need to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
What is your takeaway from the Aaron Rodgers trade?
So the Aaron Rodgers trade, my number one thing, I'm finally glad it's over, because that dragged on and on and on, and we all knew it was coming. So I'm glad it's finally here. And honestly, I think both sides did a pretty decent job. The Packers actually recouped some more assets than I thought they were going to be able to get. For the Jets, it still makes sense because, I mean, you want to go all in. They've got a very good roster. Aaron Rodgers used his last few years of his prime, go all the way. So I'm very happy it got done. Excited to see what the Jets look like next year.
Finally done, and I'm happy it's done too. I think I don't like the pick swap. I'd rather them get an extra first-round pick, but, with how much Russell Wilson struggled, there was only so much you could really get from him.
And I was a big Jordan Love guy coming out, so I'm happy to see him play.
Yeah, I like Jordan Love a lot too. Next question. Who in the first round is going to be a Hall of Famer?
Who in the first round is going to be a Hall of Famer? My guy, Bryce Young. I have him as my second overall player in the entire draft. My number one player is Bijan Robinson, but that's not accounting for positional value. So Bryce Young, I really think he's going to be a good guy. Panthers have a good roster around him. I really believe in him. So
who's going to be the big bust in the draft?
The big bust, we'll probably get into it with one of these quarterbacks, but I'm looking at Will Levis, and I don't really see it. I just don't understand.
Now, I have mine. I don't think we're going to mention him in the first round, but I have my player that's going to be a household name. Next year at this time, who is going to be a household name from this year's draft?
Next year at this time, who's going to be a household name? Let me go inside the trenches and do John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota. He's a very similar to Creed Humphrey a couple years back. Maybe not as talented, but he's going to be a day one starter that's going to be there for 10 years in a row. He's going to be a very, very good name. And look out for him, because I can see him starting as soon as he steps into the league.
I have Cedric Tillman. I think this guy is electric. I think his injuries kind of cost him. He's going to fall down draft boards, and he's going to go to a team where he's going to be the number 2, and he's just going to eat, and he's going to be a fantasy darling next year. And because of that, he's going to be a household name that people are absolutely going to love. Now let's continue our draft. My apologies for that. That is my mistake.
No worries.
Second pick. This is where it gets juicy, my friend. Part of me thinks they trade here because Bryce Young is their guy, and they have so many needs. So let's play it two ways. If they make a pick, what do you think they do?
You see, this is the most exciting draft in recent memory, because I feel like the past few drafts, we've kind of known how the first 5 or 6 picks are going to go. This one, I honestly have no clue. You've heard reports that they like Tyree Wilson better than Will Anderson. You've heard reports that Will Anderson's the pick. You've heard reports that Will Levis is their guy if Bryce Young's not there. So I've heard plenty of different things. So I honestly have no clue where this is going to go. Could be a trade down spot. Not 100% sure. How do you want to play this one, though?
I think the Raiders need a quarterback.
Okay. You think the Raiders are the team to trade up?
I think the Raiders are the team that trades up. What do you think the trade's going to be? 7 and what? 7 and 38, 7 and 70?
I think 7 and 38.
So we'll go 7 and 38 with a 2 pick. Boom.
And for the viewers, we're just doing this trade. Not super important what exactly the trade's going to look like. More so doing a thought exercise.
Yeah, we're just kind of doing, it doesn't really matter. We're just, like Sterling said, we're just kind of doing the trade because we do think there's going to be a move. Now the Raiders are here. I think they draft quarterback here. What
Okay.
quarterback do you have him going?
Which quarterback do you think McDaniels best fits McDaniels' scheme? What they're going to do?
I think Stroud, because I have Stroud number 1 on my board.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Let's talk to me about Stroud.
But the thing about Stroud is I feel he's more game tested. I look at it like this. I wasn't impressed in game with Richardson. Will Levis barely threw over 200 yards. CJ Stroud went against the Georgia defense, which is the best defense, and he had 333 and how many touchdowns? You know what I mean? On the biggest stage. But then the report came out with how poorly he had in that test. Look, I would draft Stroud. I think they're going to end up on Levis.
Okay.
What do you think?
The odds-on favorite is Levis for the pick. I think that'd be a mistake. I have Stroud far, far higher than Levis. I'm not necessarily. The reason my hesitation was Stroud is I feel like he really didn't show that playmaking all year round. Like the Georgia game, it was the best evaluated game by a quarterback all year, but I didn't see that consistently in the middle of the year. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I still think he's a very good player.
So you want to go Stroud or Levis?
Let's go Levis just for the exercise.
All right. Now we're at Cardinals. Now I think the Cardinals are either. Well, let's hear what you think, because I'm interested to see what you think. I think there's 3 things they can do here.
Yeah. So a lot of people here are saying that the Cardinals should trade down, acquire some picks, acquire some assets. I get it. The Cardinals are a really bad roster. But for me, I kind of want to start my rebuild with some blue chip defensive talent, especially for a team that's been super squishy over the past few years. Let's get a star edge rusher or a star interior defensive lineman to really kickstart our rebuild. But if you have someone that you want to come up and snap a quarterback for, let's do it.
I mean, I think they trade down.
Mm-hmm.
They take the offensive tackle from Ohio State.
Okay.
Or they take either Anderson or Wilson, whoever's higher on their board. I think they do one of the 2 things. It wouldn't surprise me if the Titans trade up.
I really think Rand Carthon, the new GM, he's going to get ambitious and he's going to go get his quarterback. So let's have the Titans trade up.
All right. So we're going to have the Titans trade up to the Cardinals. Again, this isn't what we're going to think the trade's going to be. We're just going to say they're trading up like Sterling mentioned. So we're going to say the Titans trade up for their quarterback of the future. Boom. Boom. Now, who do they go with? Richardson or Stroud?
I think they went with the toolsy player last year, Malik Willis. They saw he wasn't ready to play. So I think they go with a more refined player like CJ Stroud and trade up and get him.
Boom. So we got CJ Stroud going to the Tennessee Titans. Now we have number 4, the Indianapolis Colts. Now the Colts, obviously, they have a lot of needs: wide receiver, quarterback, offensive line, cornerback. They're pretty set on the defensive side. I think they're. What do you think they do? Where do you think they're going here?
I look at this. I would honestly want to have, if I were the Colts, I'd want to have like Levis or Stroud, someone just a bit more ready to play than Anthony Richardson right now. But the board's not breaking out that way. But I still think Anthony Richardson paired with Shane Steichen, you see all the stuff he did with him and Jalen Hurts in his offense. I think he can make Richardson a really effective runner, and that can elevate his floor a little bit. So I think Richardson might be a good pick for them.
Agree 150%. And I really think this is what is going to happen. It may not be this order, but we have 4 quarterbacks going in the top 4, and it comes up to Seattle is on the clock. Seattle, they have a lot of needs, obviously on the defensive side, their offensive tackle. And, right now they have their pick of the litter. They have Jalen Carter. Obviously the thing with the off the field stuff, there's Will Anderson, Wilson, both offensive tackles, a kid from Northwestern and the kid from Ohio State. And let's not forget about Nolan Smith, who's slowly moving up, and both cornerbacks in Witherspoon and Gonzalez. Where do you think Seattle goes, and what do you think their biggest need is here?
I think their biggest need is the D line. It's just a matter of whether they want an edge player or a defensive tackle like Jalen Carter. I don't think for Seattle they really want to deal with Jalen Carter. I think they've made it a point to make it a good culture recently. So I think they either go Anderson or Wilson here. Who do you think they go with between those two?
I would go with Anderson, but part of me, but maybe that's my bias because I really want the Lions to get him. So I'll let you pick.
Gotcha. I that'd be a dangerous fit with the Lions. So I actually think they go Wilson here. I've heard a lot of reports that Wilson's more likely to get drafted higher than Will Anderson. I don't agree with that, but let's go. So let's go Wilson. The Lions can get Anderson.
Tyree Wilson.
Oh, geez. He's all the way down.
Yeah, they have him low in PFF. Now it brings me to my Detroit Lions. Now, I have from a very good source in the Lions that Brad Holmes is on the top. It was A++ draft is to get Will Anderson here and pair him with Hutch, two dynamic pass rushers. I think this is great. I mean, if it breaks like this, and then you got Witherspoon here too, I mean, this is a dream scenario for Detroit. I think they draft Will Anderson. If this is how the board shapes up, do you have them drafting Anderson, or you think they go in a different direction?
Yeah, I think they would snap up Anderson. You look at Brad Holmes and what he's done so far in his tenure. He's been all the right moves, and I think this would just compound and be another great move for them.
All right, so they're going to take Mr. Will Anderson. Now, the Texans, who traded back with the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said the Oakland Raiders. I caught myself right there. Obviously, need a quarterback, wide receiver, O-line, need help all the way across the board on the defensive side. Where do you think they go here?
So this one's a tough one. If they trade back, I think they would honestly, with DeMeco Ryans coming in, I think they'd want their Nick Bosa, so to speak. So they'd want Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson to fall here. They could always go with Jalen Carter.
Could they draft the kid from Iowa, Van Ness? For me, that's too early for him, but this is definitely a good thought exercise. Do you think he goes what
there?
About Nolan Smith?
I actually really like Nolan Smith. I think that could be a good pick, honestly.
I mean, that you don't have the character issues with Carter. You have someone that can get to the quarterback, pretty good against the run. I kind of like if Nolan Smith is there. So we're going to go Nolan Smith.
Sounds good.
All right. Now, this is where it gets juicy. These next two picks, this is where it gets really, really juicy because Bears, son of a gun, dude. Jalen Carter was a top player. He would be off the board right now if there wasn't the off the field incident.
Absolutely.
You have both tackles, Sarnatsky from Northwestern or Johnson from Ohio State. And you got both cornerbacks on the board. I mean, this broke out the best of the best for the Bears right now.
Yeah.
You're the Bears GM. What are you doing, my friend?
So are we on the Bears or the Falcons?
Oh no, we're on the Falcons, dude. Sorry, dude. I totally skipped the Falcons. I got eager about my local Bears. My fault. We're on the Falcons. Falcons need a wide receiver, an edge rusher, and a quarterback. My bad.
Gotcha. So when I look at that D line for the Falcons, it's miserable. So I think there's really two ways they can go there. They can finally bolster that D line and get Jalen Carter in the building. He also stays in Georgia. Or you can, that secondary is already really good, but pairing AJ Terrell and maybe Devon Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez, that's going to give you an elite secondary for potential 10 years. So really between those scenarios, which one do you want to go with?
I read a report that they don't want Carter in the building because of possible attitude issues.
Okay.
So I have Witherspoon higher than Gonzalez, who's on top of your board.
Witherspoon's my CB1, so.
All right, so we both agree on Witherspoon here to the Falcons. Now I prematurely start talking about the Bears. Now let's go to the Bears. Carter's on the board. Gonzalez is still on the board, and both offensive tackles are still on the board. I feel with Fields here, they need to protect Fields, and I feel that's what they're going to do. They're going to go for an offensive tackle. Do you disagree, or do you think this is what they're going to do?
I really do too. I think they'd be tempted though with Jalen Carter being there, but I think the name of the game is protecting your franchise asset.
So look, who are you going to go with? Are you going to go with Big Pete or Paris?
So Paris is my OT1. It's pretty close between them. I both think they're really good players. So do you have a preference between those two?
You know what? I think Peter's going to end up playing guard in the league.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of questions about his arm length and size.
So we're going to go with Paris Johnson here. Now we go to the Eagles. Eagles wide receiver, wide receiver, guard, center, defensive line, and a safety. Really interesting here. Do they take the risk with Carter? They have Skolansky that could obviously slide in and play interior guard. I'm pretty high on Brian Branch. He's lurking around. What do you think? What do you think to do?
Yeah, I think the Eagles are the most interesting mock draft scenario at having 2 picks in the first round with 10 and 30. They really can go like a lot of ways because honestly, they don't really have that many needs. It's just more like, where do you want to go? So
I think Carter's here. I think they just take advantage of him because remember there was a Georgia player last year that fell right to him, and they just went with him in the 3rd round. So I think they're going to go Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is where the fall stops. Now we got the Cardinals who traded back, guard. They need offensive line, defensive line, cornerback. With how everything is breaking. Okay. Out of these players remaining, where do you think they go?
So if the board felt like this for the Cardinals, I think they'd be willing, thinking either one of 2 ways. Either Skoronski, think he could play guard at the next level, or they're either filling that secondary because their secondary is bleak, honestly. So Christian Gonzalez also might be a good fit for them.
See, I think you always build in the trenches. I think you always build out inside out.
I'm for it.
And I mean, I think Skoronski can come in right away and start as your guard. I mean, I don't think he can start as a tackle. I think he can start as a guard. So I say let's go him.
Okay.
Now we're down to the Texans who traded back. Obviously, they need that wide receiver 1. They need D-line help. They need a quarterback. Some interesting choices. Miles Murphy's still on the board. Chauncey's still on the board. We got Gonzalez. We got all the wide receivers still on the board.
Who do we take with their first pick? I just want to make sure.
We traded back. Remember, this was had the Titans.
Nolan Smith. Okay, just want to make sure.
Oh yeah, we had Nolan Smith. My fault. We had Nolan Smith right there. So we attack their defensive needs here. They have a defensive coach. Part of me thinks they go with Gonzalez, but another part of me they need a weapon. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I really think they'll go D-line, some combination of quarterback, wide receiver, D-line, or edge wide receiver. So I'm thinking Smith and Njigba.
I like it. He was my number 1, too. Now we got to the Packers. One of my good friends, Nick, is a diehard Packers fan. And his quote to me this morning was, watch the Packers with their first pick finally draft a wide receiver.
I think that would be a sort of poetic justice, just be comical, honestly, if they finally did that. So, I think they would if Smith and Njigba was still on the board here. Considering he just fell, I don't know if the Packers would do that.
So here's the thing. Give me your top 4 wide receivers.
So my top 4, so I got Smith and Njigba, then I got Quentin Johnston.
Ooh.
Then Zay Flowers, and then Jordan Addison.
See, I have Smith 1, Flowers 2, Addison 3, Johnson 4. I think Johnson drops.
Okay.
I think
I've seen a lot of mocks recently where he's fallen, so I don't know if the league's as high as him. So we don't need to take him there. Do we think they go up for Zay Flowers?
We got both tight ends there. Do they take a tight end?
I'm not a big Gutekunst guy, so I think he could do something like that. I just don't see the value in drafting a tight end that early, personally, but I could definitely see him do it. I've also heard the rumors that they really like Keon White, the edge from Georgia Tech. I don't even think he's a first-round talent, so I just see.
I don't even have a first-round grade on him.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I could see them doing something crazy like that. But let's take a tight end here. Why not? Let's get
who's on the top of your board?
Kincaid's my number one. I think he has really good movement skills. He can be a potential Zach Ertz level player.
Yeah, I love Kincaid. I think he's going to come in. I think he's going to demand the ball. He can high point it, more established route runner, soft hands. Now we got the Patriots. God only knows what they're going to do. They always seem to do something very crazy with some of these picks they do. They trade back. But at the end of the day, that offensive line was brutal. I really like Broderick Jones.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Broderick Jones would be a good pick here. I think that secondary, you think of good Patriots teams, they usually have deep secondaries. So I also think Christian Gonzalez could be in play here.
Do they take Gonzalez because he fell? You want to go that? Yeah, Gonzalez has fallen. I think if he's here, they could easily take him because they do have that history of taking whoever's top on their draft board.
Yeah, so that's my thoughts there.
All right, so we're going to take Christian Gonzalez. He's going to the Patriots. Now we have the New York Jets, just acquired Aaron Rodgers. They need to protect him with attack, with some offensive line. They need some linebacker help. Is this where Broderick Jones goes?
Yeah, I think, honestly, this is one of the most predictable picks in the middle of the draft. They're going with some offensive tackle. It's just a matter of which one is available. I think they'll go either Broderick Jones or Darnell Wright. Personally, I think Broderick Jones has a slightly higher grade for me. So let's go with Broderick Jones.
All right, so we're going to go Broderick Jones to the I lost my cursor to the New York Jets. Now, this brings us to the Washington Commanders. They need a quarterback, offensive line, linebacker. First of all, who are they really starting Sam Howell at quarterback?
They're going to try him out, I guess. It seems like, unless they get really ambitious and do something on draft night. But
now, flip side, I could see these guys doing something totally crazy. I could see them drafting Bijan Robinson. I could see them drafting the defensive lineman from Pitt. I could see them drafting.
I could see Deonte Banks, the corner out of Maryland.
Yep. I could see. Oh, my God. I could see them drafting. Oh, my God. I was going to go with Van Ness or even Will McDowell. I think they're all over the board what they can do. So this one, you know what? This one's all you, big dog.
Leave it to me, I guess. Let's go. Let's see. There's just so many options they can go. How early do you think Bijan actually goes on draft night?
I think he goes back end. I mean, I could see him going to the Bucks, the Chargers, because the Chargers want to get rid of whatchamacallit. But it falls all the way down to the Bills. I could see the Bills taking him. I could see the Cowboys taking him.
Okay.
I mean, there's a couple teams toward the back end, you know, or I could see the Commanders take him. You know what I mean? Because it's not like
let's go with Bijan, because I don't think they're so. Antonio Gibson, obviously not sold on him. Robinson, he had the issue, had to get healthy. So,
all right, so let's go Bijan Robinson here.
An interesting note about Bijan, I feel like I think of him in the same mold as Saquon. where Saquon coming out, I felt like he was going to be a Hall of Famer, and I wasn't surprised about it. Like I felt like he had that potential, and I'm obviously surprised how Saquon's career has played out with the injuries. I really think super highly of Bijan. Like I said, he's my number one player on my board.
Yeah, I think Bijan's great. It's just he plays a position that's not important.
Exactly.
Unfortunately. Steelers 17. Who are you looking at, my friend?
Steelers 17, I think I'm looking at either the corners, Deontay Banks or Joey Porter. I'm also looking at the tackles that are left over. So Darnell Wright, DeJuan Jones. So
I think they have to go offensive line. I think they should have gone offensive line like the last 2 years of the first round.
Yeah.
You have your quarterback. You have Najee Harris. I think they go Darnell Wright.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's make it happen.
Now we got my Detroit Lions. Obviously, with all the gambling they do in the wide receiver room, they need a wide receiver now. Tight end, address the defensive line earlier in the draft. I do think they need help in the secondary. Part of me kind of thinks that's where they go. I don't think they'll draft a tight end.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, do you think Dan Campbell, since he's a former tight end coach, he wants to go with a tight end guy, get someone in the building?
No, I don't think so. I think they go defense here. With how good the Lions were, their defense was still god awful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like their defense was still god effing awful. I just feel that that's what they're going to do. I feel it's going to be a defensive heavy draft for them.
I'll let you make the pick as the resident Lions fan.
I'm not high on Murphy.
Nope.
I think they go Deontay Banks. I really think they go Deontay Banks here.
That'd be a stellar first round. Will Anderson and Deontay Banks. So,
boom. All right, now we got the Bucks. Bucks need a quarterback, tight end, offensive line, defensive line, safety. How do you have this one playing out?
This is not a great spot, I feel like, for the Bucks. I'm super high on Brian Branch. Similar to Bijan, safety position's kind of gotten devalued over the past couple of years, so it's not the most important position. He's a top 10 player in my book, though. So they could go there. Michael Mayer, because they need a tight end. Offensive line, they could bump one of those other guys up. Anton Harrison. Kalijah Cansey's still on the board. That D-line's aging a little bit, so plenty of different options they can go there. So really, what are you thinking?
I am thinking
could get crazy, go Jahmyr Gibbs.
I don't think they go Gibbs, dude. I think they go Branch. I think they go Branch. Now let's shift our attention back to Seattle. Seattle back at pick 5. They got Wilson, the edge rusher. Do they go offensive line here, or do they still try to fire up that defensive line?
Yeah, so I think two things are in play here. If the board fell like this, they think about Brian Brzee, Kalijah Cansey, or might go offensive guard Osiris Torrance out of Florida.
So you want the kid out of Florida?
Yeah, I think that's where they might go. He's like a backhand of the first round, second round kind of player for me. But honestly, we've seen the Seahawks reach a little bit in the past, so wouldn't surprise me in any way.
So there we go. Take Dolphins pick, obviously 4 fitted. Now we're up to the Chargers. They need help in the secondary, help at the linebacker position, and at the wide receiver position. Joey Porter seems to be falling a lot. We have the 3 wide receivers. We got Miles Murphy still on the board. We got Forbes. We got Van Ness. I really don't think they'll go wide receiver, to be utterly honest with you.
Really? Yeah, I think this is it's not an insane wide receiver class, but it's a deep wide receiver class. So I think they can get the deep threat that they need, maybe in the second, third round. So I don't think it's the most pressing thing. I do think Zay Flowers would fit nicely though with them.
You know, I like Zay Flowers. He's on the top of my board. You want to just go Zay?
Yeah.
All right, so let's go Zay Flowers. Now we're going to the Ravens. Edge, another wide receiver, just cited OBJ and a DB. You know, Van Ness is on the board, Porter's on the board, Addison, Johnston's still on the board, Miles Murphy's still linking. Can't see the kid from Pitt is still around. Where do you have them going, my friend?
Yeah, so I don't think the Ravens will take a wide receiver. They've been reluctant to draft wide receivers apart from Bateman. So I don't really think they'll go that route. So I think they look at their aging corner room, like Marcus Peters getting old, getting up there. Joey Porter's fell. I think they take a corner here.
Now we get to one of the most intriguing teams here. Do the Vikings take Hayden Hooker? Do they go after a wide receiver to pair with Jefferson? Or do they do something with that god-awful defense?
I think the best course of action for them would be to get Justin Jefferson a running mate. I've heard reports about Hooker. I just don't see it. He's 26 years old. He played in a very gimmicky offense, coming off an ACL tear. Like, great guy by all accounts, and very, very had a great season. But I don't know. That's just way too rich for me.
I think they go wide receiver, Addison, Johnston. Who you got higher on your board, my friend?
I got Johnston higher, but we can go Addison if you think they're a better fit.
No, this one's totally on you, my friend.
All right, let's go Johnston.
All right, we're going Johnston right now. Now we got the Jags. Obviously, they need help on the defense, the back end. They need someone that can get to the quarterback. And they need interior offensive line help. Where do you think they go here, my friend?
So this is one where I popularly see Brian Branch being mocked. Obviously, in this scenario, he's taken here. So they can kind of go best player available because that Jaguars roster is kind of sneakily pretty good. So Kalijah Kancey's still there, but edge is more of a need. So let's go Miles Murphy here.
Miles Murphy. That would be a great thing. But there is concerns with Murphy coming out. You know what I mean? That's the one thing with Murphy. There is a little bit of concerns coming out.
Also, he looked way better last year as opposed to this year. So
now we're going to, you do like the Giants, my friend. Yep. One of the many teams you like. Obviously they need some help on the outside. They need a center. They won't take one here. They need a linebacker and a safety. Talk to me here, my friend.
Yeah, so plenty of different routes Giants can go. I think I'm in the minority where I don't think the Giants need necessarily to take a wide receiver. I'm not personally as high on Addison as I am the other people in the class. I still see him and he'd be a decent fit, but I think the Giants have done quite a few things to address the wide receiver position. Obviously, it's not top notch, but I see Addison as a good or a decent wide receiver too. So we can go Addison here. John Michael Smith is my guy, so he can go center here. But I think Addison would be the best player available that fits. So Addison.
Boom. Now we got how about them Cowboys? Another, McCarthy's here. What is he going to do? They obviously need a running back, but I mean, are they going to draft Gibbs right now, the kid from Alabama? Are they going to look to go for the defensive line, linebacker, or cornerback position? Sometimes these drafts just break, and it's really hard to determine what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Do they draft Gibbs?
Yeah, I think the options here are Gibbs. They got rid of Dalton Schultz, so Michael Mayer, he's also on the table. They really do need to address the interior defensive line. We still got Cansey. There's also Mozzie Smith from Michigan. So a couple different options they can go. What are you thinking they do here?
Jesus. You know what I mean? It's like, God damn it. If Meyer's still on the board, I think they gamble and take Meyer.
All right. Let's do it.
Now we got the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, they need defense, cornerback, linebacker, defensive line work. Talk to me here. What do you think they do?
Yeah, I really think they got to focus on the defensive line. You look at Von Miller, he's getting up there in age. Ed Oliver hasn't been exactly the player they thought. So I really think they're, especially if none of the corners or the top corners or wide receivers are still on the board, I think that's the route they're going to go. So either Cansey or Van Ness.
I think they go Cansey.
Okay.
Boom. Boom. Now we got the Bengals. Obviously, the Bengals, they need a tight end, defensive line, DB, maybe even a offensive lineman. Where do you think they go?
Yeah, you hear Jonah Williams requested a trade, so they might look to replace him. Anton Harrison, DeJuan Jones. I think if Mayer or Kincaid fell this far, they definitely look at those options. I don't think any cornerback is worth this pick right here. So I'm thinking either Anton Harrison or DeJuan Jones.
Let's go Antoine Harrison. I believe that's who I had higher on my board. Yep, I had Anton Harrison higher than Jones. Who'd you have? Who'd you have as your number 4 offensive lineman?
So I had, let me see, I had Paris Skoronsky. I had Broderick Jones third, Darnell Wright. Or actually, I had DeJuan Jones fourth, Darnell Wright fifth. I'm not a big Darnell Wright guy. And then Harrison sixth.
That's my man. I had Darnell Wright. I had Darnell Wright 5 on my offensive tackle board. Pick number 29, my man. Obviously, the Saints, they need offensive line help in the back 4 with the secondary, and obviously defensive line. Do they draft your boy?
I don't think they do, because I think they a more premium position is edge, and I think about their edge rushers like Cam Jordan getting up there in age. They could get a bigger bodied guy like Van Ness come off screaming off the edge. I think Van Ness goes there.
Van Ness makes sense here. Boom. Pick 30. We got the Philadelphia Eagles again, wide receiver, interior offensive line, defensive line, and a safety. We had them drafting Jalen Carter. Who you got here, my friend?
All right, we had them drafting Jalen Carter. So let's see. I really think they focus on the secondary, or if a wide receiver fell to them, they'd go there. So let's see.
Could you see them going with? I don't think they'll draft. Well, the kid they got from Cincinnati can play the interior line too. Do you think they go and draft Kelsey's replacement?
I think that also based on how the board's broken out, I think that might be a good fit. So let's go Smits.
Oh, boom, Smits. Now let's shift over. Last pick, the Kansas City Chiefs. Where do you have the Chiefs going, my friend?
So I think the Chiefs are just going to go best player available with whatever they have. I don't think they necessarily need to reach for a wide receiver, because I think the top 4 will be gone by then. My highest ranked player that's still available is BJ Ojulari out of LSU. So I think they could go there, giving them another edge, like Karlaftis. Your thoughts?
I like BJ a lot. I like BJ a lot. Let's go BJ here. They needed defensive is always something that they're always need. So let's go BJ right here. Pick number 31. There you have it. Grading our draft. You know what? I'm going to download this image, man. Image downloaded. That way I can post it to our socials later. Bryce Young, Will Levis, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Tyree Wilson, Will Anderson, Nolan Smith, Witherspoon, Paris Johnson, Jalen Carter. That is the top 10 in the annual Silverstar Sports / Etoft21sports mock draft. Pretty good draft, my friend. Pretty good. Little surprises. Now let's shift our attention over. We got one more thing to go. It's a gambling show, so we got to tell some bets, man. This
Yeah.
is what the people like. Let's hear it, man. What you got, big dog?
Yeah. So, first bet I love Darnell Wright. Even though he's not my guy, it seems like the NFL is very high on him. So it's plus 550 to be the second offensive line selected on DraftKings. I think that's very good value, especially because so many people are not sure about Skoronski and whether he's a guard or whether he's a tackle. I think he gets pushed up the boards a lot. He also didn't allow a sack last year. I think that's really because of how gimmicky the Tennessee offense was. But I really think he'll be pushed up draft boards. I think you can find value at plus 550.
Like that. I like that. My first one, and it broke our way in our draft. Tyree Wilson over 4.5 plus 130. Obviously, with all the news that's coming out today with the stuff, he's going second, he's going third. This was taken off the board, but I think the first 4 picks are quarterbacks. It's a quarterback-driven lead. I think the first 4 picks are quarterback. Obviously, with the second pick, something could go a little bit crazy with Will Levis, like not being there, and they draft a defensive player. But I'm going to say this, and this is something important that people remember. Money drives the betting market. They're not going to move a line because they think something's going to happen. They want equal action. So a lot of the times in these drafts, what they have these groups that come in with absorbent money to move a line to a line they like, and then they hammer that line. That's what these syndicate huge groups do. And we could be seeing something like this. We saw this in the World Cup. There was a big move on a team, and it was just a syndicate moving the line to what they wanted. That's what I kind of think is going on here with this Will Levis first stuff, and Wilson second stuff. So I'll take Wilson over 4.5.
Okay. All right, moving on to my second bet. Another not my guy in this draft, but Darnell Washington plus 900 for the first tight end selected is what I've seen.
Yes, look at you, dude. You're hitting some homers, dude.
Yeah, another not my guy, but I think the NFL loves his athletic traits. For me, he's just a little stiff in terms of route running, but I could see like a team like Green Bay falling in love with him, or I don't think tight end's a premium position, so I could see Kincaid and Meyer getting pushed down. And the team's like, why not? Let's go to it. Darnell Washington, we like how he is as a blocker. So he could be the first tight end selected. I wouldn't be super surprised.
Bobby's loving the action, my friend.
Appreciate it, Bobby. Appreciate you listening.
Loving the action. Now mine, this one's plus 700. I think 700, 750, depending on the book. Everything I'm hearing is the Lions love Will Anderson, and that's Brad Holmes' ideal pick. If the top 4 go quarterbacks and Seattle takes Wilson, Will Anderson is right there at 6. I took Anderson to the Lions at plus 600. I heard this is his home run A+ pick. This is the player he absolutely loves. I think this is what they're going to do. I think they're going to take Mr. Will Anderson. I'm seeing plus 700, so I am all about that number, my friend.
Gotcha. And then my final bet, I probably should have asked the Lions insider before I brought this to the show because it kind of contradicts some of the things you've already said, but I still find it a good enough price. So Jalen Carter at 6, Dalton Kincaid at 18. It's the same odds for Jalen Carter and Michael Mayer, Christian Gonzalez, and Dalton Kincaid, plus 7,000 on DraftKings, on FanDuel. So I think that's pretty good odds considering they need a corner, they need interior defensive line, and they also still need a tight end. So I think those are pretty good odds at plus 7,000.
Dude, that's absolutely insane. I did one of those today. I did the Lions with Banks and Anderson at 50 to 1. So I absolutely love that one. My last one, and this is a quarterback-driven league. Under 4.5 quarterbacks in the first round, plus 160. You mentioned it before. Hayden Hooker is 26 years old. He has a major knee injury. With how much homework these guys do with the quarterback position, why the flying hell are they going to take someone that old with a knee issue makes absolutely zero sense to me. I hate the Lakers. So Gino and I have a live stream we do. And like some days it's taped. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We're live. We talk NBA, do bettings and everything. I love this guy, man. I have no idea who the hell this guy is, but he's been coming on lately. And he just talks shit to Gino about the Lakers and
that's great. That's great.
And I'm looking at the score right now. You know, they got 54. They're up 54 to 50 in the second. I'm slitting on the Clippers plus 12.5. So I would absolutely love it. So that would be phenomenal if the Clippers could get it done. I'm not a Celtics guy at all. So those are my 3 bets. Wilson over 4.5 plus 130. Anderson to the Lions plus 700. And under 4.5 QBs. I also have a little bit on.
I've got that one myself, that under 4.5.
I'd Flowers, the number 2 wide receiver, plus 130. Sterling, what are your bets again?
So to recap, my bets are Darnell Wright, second O-line to be taken, plus 550. Darnell Washington, first tight end selected, plus 900. Jalen Carter at 6. Dalton Kincaid at 18 for plus 7,000.
I absolutely love those. But Sterling, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on social media and when your post-draft grades going to be coming out?
Yeah, so Silverstar_sports. That's Silverstar_sports on Instagram. Been a little busy, been traveling, been working a lot, but it's the perfect season to get back into things. So really going to get back into it and post those draft grades next week. So really excited. Please follow me there. Still working on the other stuff, but lots of stuff to come. And I will be back eventually to talk more football, more basketball, because we got a lot of exciting NBA playoffs to discuss. So give me a follow over on Instagram and keep supporting my boy, Etoft21sports.
Oh, Sterling, love always having you on. I hate the Lakers chimes in. Big odds. Love that. He also, Lakers Grizzly pick tomorrow, guys. Who you got?
So the Lakers look gas at the end of that game. And I think a short week, kind of a short turnaround, doesn't necessarily bode well for them. But I also think they understand that they really need this game and they don't want to play with their food, so to speak, and really want to put the Grizzlies away. So I think it's going to be a really tight game, come down to the wire. I ultimately think the Lakers are a little bit too gas, so I say the Grizzlies win.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think the Grizzlies win too. I'll probably end up laying the points. Sterling, thanks for coming on. I always enjoy talking shop with you, especially this time of the year with the NFL draft. Make sure you give my boy a follow, and I'm sure he is going to be on many, many, many more times. We'll talk soon, my friend.